What's going on, everybody? My name's Matt. That's Adam. We're
Hello.
recording. We're doing Ballpark. This is Ballpark. Welcome. We haven't done one of these in a really long time, so
Yeah,
we're gonna be behind on a
life.
lot of stuff.
Yeah, life's gotten hectic.
Just busy, busy, busy summer. Everyone's
Yeah,
been insanely busy, so we haven't had chance to really
to
do
record
anything
anything.
at all. Not even just Ballpark.
Yeah,
The few we have done have been, pretty central to specific events.
yeah,
Um,
like Korea, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that was the last anything we did baseball related, I think, was. Oh, holy shit. Oh, man, I should probably check that.
I actually think
When Correa resigned, I think that was the last one. Might have been another
it,
one.
I think there was another one where we gave predictions.
Maybe.
On,
Didn't we. Did that ever get
kind-
released?
I have no idea, but
Let me check here.
well, he's checking. This is just
Yeah, Joe and I did one
okay.
6 months ago. And that was the last thing we did, so. For
Dang.
Ballpark, specifically.
Okay.
But yeah, welcome. We don't really. I mean, we have so much to talk about that we really don't know what to talk about. I guess we start with the most recent news. Josh Donaldson
Yeah.
got cut from the Yankees, which is
Yep.
fucking hilarious.
Oh, it is.
I'm gonna no, I'm gonna say that I am a Josh Donaldson fan. I've liked him as a player for a long time. I was really happy when he came to the Twins, but he's been so bad with the Yankees, and he's just kind of been a clubhouse nightmare. I like him a lot as a player. I'll say I don't like him a lot as a person. Granted, I, I did meet him at Twins Fest, but I was waiting in line for 45 minutes for him to sign for a 2 second interaction where he signed my hat. But like,
Yeah. Donaldson seems like a good player, but the Yankees needed a
yeah,
leader.
they did not fit one in Donaldson. I mean, it. I will say this is probably the greatest modern day fleece in MLB history. Because
Yeah,
the Twins gave Donaldson and his bloated $50 million contract that was left on his. He had a 4 year deal with the Twins back in 20 right it was 2019 2020 off season, which I predicted that signing. By the way, we have
yeah,
recording of it somewhere.
yeah,
Um, 4 year deal. It was crazy. A 4 year deal, $100 million or something. And then we just dumped it on the Yankees and proceeded to sign Carlos Correa with the money that we saved. So,
yeah. And
I do want to mention about Donaldson though.
Ron, it's
Despite the fact that it was hitting, sorry Adam, hold on.
all good.
He was hitting 140, 142 roughly, with like 15 home runs. So someone will take a flyer on him based purely on the fact that his power numbers are up a little bit, but no one's in the right mind is going to be willing to claim him off of waivers. It's gonna be he's gonna land in free agency again. Some team is gonna pick him up on a minors deal. He probably will maybe get called up as an injury replacement, but again, won't do much unless he just retires. He could just up and retire as well. Who knows? But
But the average brings me to another point with the Yankees. They have fucking sucked this year, and I've
so
loved
bad.
every moment of it.
It's the greatest
Like,
greatest thing that could have possibly happened in this weird 2023 season.
yeah, like they're falling apart. They have
Then
Judge
even with
and What was
Yeah,
that, Matt?
even with bringing back Aaron Judge, it hasn't helped.
Yeah. And Judge gets injured. They have nobody else to come close to being that guy. Like, I remember when Cubs traded Gleyber Torres to the Yankees for Chapman, and everybody was upset because Torres had this bright future.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to say, like, when he's good, you see why he was so highly rated. But when he's bad, like this year, yeah, I kind of think Cubs did the right thing.
Thing is with the Yankees too, the whole team. It's not just Torres being
Yeah,
occasionally brilliant, showing flashes of greatness, and then you know
falling
not
off a
playing,
cliff.
falling off randomly for like a 2 week straight, and then the entire team has done that. Stanton is bad. IKF is bad. Fucking Rizzo is bad, but that granted he had a concussion and was on top of the world prior to that. He would have been an
Yeah.
early candidate for the AL MVP.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he wasn't going to beat Shohei, and even with Shohei injured, he's still going to win. And
Yeah.
we'll touch more on that later. The Yankees are just bad, and it's the greatest possible outcome of this wild season. And even like they're so bad. Now, granted, the AL Central is worse, but the Yankees wouldn't even be in like second place in the AL Central right now. And they might be. I guess I don't know if they're above 500 or not. They might be above 500.
And to kind of
It doesn't
explain
mean they're any better than
than
it doesn't
Cleveland.
really mean, yeah, or Detroit for that matter. And I'll look up their
Yeah.
record real quick, just because I don't even know what their record is.
Well, you look that
They are
up.
63. They are below 500. They're playing the Tigers in Detroit.
What's the Tigers'
The Yankees are
record?
63, 58, 59, and 71 or 72 or something. And what's Cleveland's record? Cleveland is 62 and 70. So the Yankees are marginally better than both Cleveland and Detroit. Marginally. But they are below
I fucking
500.
love that.
And so they'd barely be in second place in the AL Central behind a surging Twins team right now.
That team.
I think Adam just had a stroke. I couldn't hear any of that because you cut out.
Oh, I just said that was the best news to hear. Because they're barely in second place in the worst division in baseball. Like, just think of that. Like,
And even then, like as bad as the AL Central is, and the Yankees are only going to get worse unless they go out and be the Yankees and spend all the money. Whereas these other teams, Detroit is very young; they could be good in a couple of years. Cleveland is young-ish; they could be good in a couple of years. I mean, they have pretty solid young rotation.
Yeah, Cleveland and Detroit.
Kansas City is youngish with some really good young players. Like, and Chicago's just terrible. I mean, Chicago's just bad. All their players are old and no one's good.
Before we continue, did you see what Passan tweeted out earlier?
No.
So, 9 times out of 10, we generally try to avoid topics like this, but Passan quote tweeted a tweet that said, a woman injured herself with an accidental discharge of a firearm. She smuggled it in threw metal detectors under her belly fat. And Passan's tweet just said, the most effort shown at Sox Park this year. Like,
now, I want to point out what this woman did is a very serious crime. Bringing in a firearm to a very public place.
Yes.
Even hiding it anywhere on her body. So I do want to point that out. But it is funny. I didn't know about Jeff Passan's tweet. That is pretty funny.
We do not condone that here. We do not condone bringing firearms anywhere unless you're actually trained.
Yeah, and really only on hunting land or fucking shooting range.
Yeah. And even then, we'd rather you guys safe than sorry. But with Passan's tweet, like, I guess that's a good way to segue into everything that really happened around the trade deadline, where the White Sox traded Giolito and a few other players in an effort to rebuild again. And
White Sox.
What was that?
Which is excellent because fuck the White Sox. I have two teams in MLB that I hate with a passion. That is New York and Chicago. I also don't like Cleveland, but I mostly don't like a lot of their fans. Some of their fans are great, like the ones I troll and talk shit with on Twitter, but the majority of them are weirdos.
Yeah. But it's just so funny because when 2020 happened, we figured like White Sox would be having a great year this year, pushing for a playoff spot.
They were predicted by a lot to win the division. Like the Twins weren't even predicted to win the division. It was like there was going to be three juggernauts.
And Kansas City and Detroit.
Three solid teams, and then Kansas City and Detroit. Minnesota, Cleveland, and Chicago. All three were supposed to be, very, very good. And only one of those teams has an above 500 record. And it's not the team you'd think it was. You'd think it'd be.
Yeah.
It's the team that has a struggling Carlos Correa, no Byron Buxton, who's been hurt all year and has sucked. It's the team with, all like 5 rookies on it. It's insane what this season has been. Even and this has been a thing all around the league. This rookie class for this year specifically is insane. Not even just the Twins; it's a league-wide phenomenon of rookies coming up and just dominating the game of baseball.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that in a while.
Like he has had a magical run as well. He's been called up.
Oh yeah, and all the Reds rookies.
Yeah, he struggled. Yes,
Matt McClain.
Here, I believe. I mean, it's insane what this rookie class has been doing.
All the Twins rookies, all the Reds rookies. You got that couple of studs for LA, the Angels, not the fuck the Dodgers.
But I know of one team that's really struggled.
What team is that?
So the team that had struggled the most, the Los Angeles Angels.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they've struggled the most. I would say their counterpart. They're another team in their division has struggled worse. But
Yeah,
that
but
was
I
just
don't
kind of
count the
expected.
A's. I don't count the A's as a real team at this point. Like,
I do for their fans. I'm rooting not for the Oakland A's. I'm rooting for the Oakland A's fans. Because
yeah,
obviously the A's are terrible. The worst team in baseball. They refuse to win. They should be
they
investigated for tanking intentionally to sell the team. Which, I mean, doesn't go against the game of baseball, but there's something wrong with that.
they have, what is it, 39 wins?
Something
Like,
stupid. They're gonna lose probably the record, or they're gonna break the record for losses, or at least come close. It's like 117 or something.
yeah.
I
And
think it's like the Tigers that have that record.
no, I think it was the Mets.
Maybe
The
it is the Mets.
extension. But yeah, like the A's, they have nothing. No prospects, no real stars. But hold up. Sorry about that.
You're good.
But the reason why I say the A's have struggled the most, they were buyers at the deadline for some reason. And now I'll give them credit for trying to go all in with Ohtani and Trout. But their moves have backfired greatly.
Well, like I wasn't thrilled about Richard. The only guy I liked coming out of the deadline from the Rockies was C.J. Cron, and that's only because he makes consistent contact with some decent power. He's not going to wow you with home run numbers, but he's going to hit 20, maybe gets lucky and hits 30. Whereas Randall Grichuk just isn't a great player. He was just in Colorado where most offensive numbers are a bit inflated.
Yeah. Well, we say that, but Chris Bryant can't do anything there.
Oh, that's because Chris Bryant sucks.
You know, before I'd say he doesn't, but like ever since he's left the Cubs,
even going into this off season, even going into the off season last year, when he was a free agent, he was still a good player. Like he was still viewed as a good player.
yeah,
He's got what I call sleeping giant syndrome, where he's the kind of guy I say this about Noah Syndergaard, who also just got released from the Guardians.
yeah,
There's this group of players that have sleeping giant syndrome. That they're these players that are former award winners, former MVPs, former Cy Youngs, former you could name all these awards. They're players that on like a 5-game spurt, or or not more than that, like a 30-game spurt could go absolutely insane.
yeah,
Like another guy that is like that is Josh Donaldson. We saw it from Matt Carpenter a few years ago with the Yankees, or last year actually with the Yankees. He signed a minor league contract with the Yankees after getting cut by the Cardinals, and went on an insane stretch where he hit like 350 and he had like 12 home runs or something. Like that's the kind of sleeping giant syndrome I'm talking about now. With pitchers, it requires more of a longer length of time, but for hitters, it's
pretty much
a lot
calendar
shorter.
month. Like,
yeah, it can be just a month. It could be a couple of weeks. But these are the kind of guys that they'll put you on your back, or they'll put you on their back and they'll carry your team for 2-3 weeks, and you can be right back in a division.
yeah.
Now, granted,
Well,
there are guys like that are great players like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and guys that haven't really carried that should carry their team but haven't because the rest of the team is terrible.
yeah,
But like sleeping giants are typically found on reasonably talented team, or like really good teams.
yeah.
And
Like,
those teams might struggle for a few weeks. And then they'll get lifted by this insane bat or this insane pitching performance from a middling to okay-ish starter,
Yeah.
or reliever.
Yeah.
So that's what Chris Bryant is to me. And like Randall Grichuk can be like that too a little bit. CJ Cron is like that. So the moves that the Angels made, I wasn't upset about. I like the moves for the Angels. I just didn't think they were enough. It wasn't enough of a buy.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Lucas Giolito. It wasn't enough of a buy to really put them back into contention.
Like, I could understand if Giolito was good or returned to the form that we expected. But he hasn't.
Yeah.
And again, Crone, he would have been a great option. Candelario, great option.
Candelario has been pretty
much.
solid.
Oh, yeah. He's been better than I'd expect.
Yeah, and it's coming from former Tiger who was terrible for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then left and became great with another team.
Yeah. Also,
there's like a lot of Tigers.
I just want to point something ironic out with Candelario going to the Cubs at the deadline. Now when he was last on the Cubs, it was 2016.
He was a Cub?
Yep.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah. So
I thought he came up with the Tigers.
No, came up with the Cubs. They traded him because he was blocked by Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant.
And he was probably just bad.
Well, no, he was good, but there really wasn't much to keep him around. Like,
yeah,
you'd expect like Crone numbers from him at best. At worst, maybe 12, 13 home runs, but still hitting at like 240, 250, 260, something like that. So, it was a good piece to flip.
Yeah, I was really hoping that the Twins would take a flyer on Candelario or even Grichuk or Crone. Granted, I just wanted the Twins to make a move at any point outside of Dylan Floro, who has been terrible. Outside of one or a couple of good innings the other day against the Rangers, but actually he was terrible against the Rangers for one outing, and then he was great against them the next day. So it's he's very hit or miss. But I wanted the Twins to make one more move, and I was hoping it was going to be either Candelario, because they don't really need a third baseman, but
they need a DH.
They needed some right-handed bat to balance the lineup against lefties they've been awful.
Yeah.
Horrendous against lefties all year long, except for, somewhat recently where they've started to hit lefties a little bit harder, make better contact. But
yeah, I bet you're upset the Cubs pulled Bellinger off the market.
Yeah, he was someone I was really hoping for too. The Twins. So here's the thing too about Twins. They wanted a lot of guys. They had their feelers out to a lot of teams. They were like, hey, we really like this guy, and they were talking to Angels, Padres, Cubs. All these teams that went on stretch runs. Even I think they were talking to the Mets a little bit. All these teams that went on stretch runs where they won 5 or 6 games in a row, and they were like, actually, you know what? We're not going to be sellers. We're going to be buyers. And so the teams that they were going to trade with ended up not trading their pieces. Like, the Twins were one of the teams in on a couple of the Mets arms. The Twins were one of the teams in on some of the Padres farm pieces. The Twins were one of the teams in on a handful of the Angels guys. I can safely imagine the Twins were in on Cody Bellinger and a bunch of Cubs. Some of their arms. But all those
And
teams decided to be good for a random stretch that happened to be at
yeah,
the trade deadline.
yeah. But something even better about the Cubs getting good, you could you can actually go back and pinpoint the exact moment they were good. They became good. And that was when Talkman robbed a game-winning home run from a Cardinals player. Like, and that just made it 1,000 times better to me, because I started going back and watching that, and if the Cardinals could have challenged, like, they could have potentially gotten it overturned. But they blew their challenge earlier in the game.
Yeah. I don't know. This season has just been so weird. I don't even know. Like, it's kind of getting exhausting at this point because they're teams that should be, phenomenal. Like the teams like the Mets and the Padres are both bad, but
Yeah.
most
On
like
paper,
yeah, on paper they should be amazing, which is another thing. I've brought up in the past too. They have big. I used to have a word for it. It's like I think I called it angel syndrome or something. Where
yeah.
remember when the Angels paid Albert Pujols all that money, Josh Hamilton all that money. They went out and signed huge names, these huge superstar names, and they ended up sucking for the next 5 years because the Angels are just not a great franchise. And
Yeah.
they're not very well run by their management and ownership.
Yeah. And
And they were just all out bad teams with some of the greatest players the game has seen, some of the most talented players, Hall of Famers, just brilliant players, Hall of Fame talents. Josh Hamilton isn't a Hall of Famer, but he was a Hall of Fame talent at one point. If he just stayed,
yeah.
Clean and healthy and
Yeah. And I kind of think that's why you hear a lot of teams, like, I'll go back to the shortstop class of last year. Correa, Swanson, Turner, Bogarts. The top four shortstops.
most
And out of
loaded
them
shortstop
all,
class we've ever seen.
yeah. And out of all of them, Turner's struggling. Bogarts,
Bogarts was hot, but now he sucks.
yeah. Correa's
I
been
don't know if
struggling all
Swanson's
year.
good. Yeah, Correa's just. I mean, he's heating up now. He's getting better now. He's got like a 300 average over his last 18 games or something. But he
Yeah.
still hasn't shown a whole lot of power numbers. It's been mostly base hits and singles and doubles.
Yeah.
And a lot of
And
walks.
and you asked what Swanson was doing. He's been most consistent out of them all. Like, he's played great defense. I think his average is like 265 or 270, something like that. And he's got,
Still isn't, superstar level, but that's really, really good.
yeah, but that was kind of the whole thing. Like, Swanson's not the superstar of Correa, Bogarts, Turner, all that. He's right in that level below. So, thinking he'd be worth as much. And yet this year, what he's done is you can really split into two halves for him. First half, like, he was damn near amazing, damn near phenomenal even. Second half, not so much, but he's still at that point where you can sit there and say, yeah, he was worth that big contract.
That's been a hard statement to make throughout the entire season here, which is part of the reason why it's been so insane.
Yeah.
Because the big contracts that were handed out last offseason weren't anything special. Like none of those guys have done anything insane. Verlander and Scherzer both aren't on the Mets anymore.
Ironically,
A lot of
they're
the
on
Mets guys aren't
Rivals.
doing great. Yeah. Mark Canha got traded to the Brewers. He was a decent shining for the Mets last year. You got
Yeah.
the Padres that signed all those guys that they have a huge payroll, and they're terrible. You got like the Yankees. You know, the Yankees have a massive payroll. Most of that is Judge, but still, it's and they just cut one of their highest paid players because he's terrible.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can look at injuries as well, such as signing during his UCL. Like, now
Still
that's not
hitting,
going to
but
stop
he
him from
can't
hitting.
pitch. Yeah, he still has a shot to break the 60. You know,
Yeah, we say he can't pitch, but I would not be surprised if he went out and threw a perfect game. Like,
he could probably pitch opposite-handed, left-handed, and
yeah,
still probably strike out 10 batters.
yeah. I said it before, like, the Angels are a team where you can almost guarantee Tiny's going to throw a no-hitter one day. Mike Trout's going to hit like 2 grand slams, and they're going to find a way to lose.
Absolutely, they're gonna find a way to. Well, I mean,
Find a way.
with two grand slams, they wouldn't find a way to lose that game. But I could absolutely see him doing that in separate games, or Otani, you know,
It's the
completely
Angels.
shuts down, you know, an opposing team, but then in extras, but the Angels can't get anything going. So in extras, the other team wins on a walk-off from the Manfred man.
That's actually
Or,
a good.
Which actually happened in college softball one year. It was a perfect game going into the bottom of the seventh and going into the eighth, going into the bottom of the eighth, because the pitcher on both sides, the other team had like 2 or 3 hits.
Yeah, I remember that
But
game.
the pitcher had thrown a perfect game up until the eighth, but like neither team had a run. And then the team
The
that was
Ghost
getting
Runner.
no hit, or was getting perfect gamed, you know, got the Ghost Runner. They got a sacrifice bunt and a sacrifice fly, and ended up winning the game.
Yeah.
And that's still technically a perfect game because there was no hits. The only base runner was the Ghost Runner, which doesn't even really count as a base runner.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't given up by the pitcher. The pitcher still threw perfect game. There was no walks, no hits, no errors, no runs scored up until the end. Yeah. And this even happened to the Pirates, last year. Similar thing.
Oh yeah, I remember that game. That was the greatest game to describe Pittsburgh baseball over the last decade plus. Just an absolutely unreal start, and they lose.
End up losing because they give up a sac bunt, a sac fly, and losing a no hitter because there was no hits given up. There was a couple of walks, I think, in the early game, or there was an error or something, an error throw. No, maybe that's how they won. Maybe there was like
actually
there was something weird that happened in that
if I'm not
final
mistaken,
inning.
I think there was an error in the ninth that allowed somebody who reached, I believe, on a walk to get to third. And he managed to steal home because one of the players was, because of the ball being hit, I want to say slowly down first base line. something like that. And they couldn't get to it in time.
Yeah, it's and that was hilarious. I'm shocked, and which is weird because that's almost like a 2023 thing happening last year. Because we've had a perfect game by a pitcher who's not even on his team right now because he's a piece of shit. He's an alcoholic. He beat his wife or something.
He's in Double A, but not the minor league system.
Yes, he's in
Like,
yeah, he's in AA meetings.
yeah. Like, I think something came out about him throwing a punch at another player or something. I forget what it was.
Yeah, he's just not a good dude. He threw a perfect game. And
against the A's.
Against the A's of all teams, so it's kind of a Mickey Mouse, perfect game. I feel like I could throw a perfect game against the A's. And my fastest pitch is 60 miles per hour.
Matt, let's be realistic. We could probably play the A's and win. You, Joe, and I, and just 6 monkeys. Like, we could... like, they are just... It's a common occurrence for us to throw jokes at the A's, but they do it by themselves.
Yeah, and I remember a few years ago we had them pegged to win, and they didn't they didn't win, and they weren't even that bad that year. They were just that was the beginning of their decline, and now they're terrible. They're the worst team in the fucking league. Yeah. They're gonna have the number 1 overall pick, and it's gonna be crazy.
Actually, don't they start the draft lottery this year or next year?
They started it last year.
Why do I have a feeling they're not getting the number 1 pick?
Oh, they probably won't.
I hate the Cardinals, but just to outspite, I would love for them to get the number 1 pick over the A's. Like, they fucked over their fans badly, as you said. So, I will accept any other team getting number 1 over them.
Oh, again, I root for them, and I want them to still get the number 1 pick because I want their fans to have something to finally root for. Because they're going to be leaving Oakland here in a year or in a couple of years. They're not even going to be playing. They're going to be playing in their most hated rival stadium, or there's a chance they might be. While their current stadium is being worked on. It's just a whole mess of a situation, and the owners.
I think they're leaving. Terrible. I think they're leaving after this year.
Yeah, I don't know when they're leaving specifically. Last I heard, they could be playing in Candlestick or whatever it is, the giant Oracle Park. Yeah, which is the Giants. This is a Giant stadium, and that will be not pleasant for A's fans.
No.
It will be funny to see A's logos painted on there if they do a joint stadium and just balance out, when who plays when and balance out a home and away series. But that was just a possibility I heard. I doubt that's going to be the case. That was just a possibility I heard. I imagine they're going to stay in Oakland until Vegas is built and ready to go.
Yeah, and again, they might leave after this year. They may not. We're not entirely sure. So don't take our word as gospel here.
We know little. In fact, we probably know less than you. Just understand that we probably know less than the majority of people.
Yeah,
that are familiar with the situation.
Vegas. So yeah, we really don't know much. If we lived in Vegas, we know more.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I don't even know. Just a weird baseball season, but it's been fun-ish. I mean, the teams that have been, like, the Twins are in the middle of a playoff race. The Cubs are in the middle of a playoff race. The teams that no one expected are playing extremely well. Like, who expected the Orioles to be good? Who expected the Rays to be the best team, one of the best teams in baseball? I mean,
yeah,
they have been the last couple of years, but, like,
who
even to
expected
be
Wander
like,
Franco to be a dipshit?
right? Like, it's just crazy what's happening this year. I forgot all about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I want to forget it too. And just to kind of give a overview of what's going on with Franco. Apparently there's been 2 underage girls who have claimed relationships with him. And when I say that, I don't mean a good relationship. I mean one that, if you hear about, you should call the police.
Yeah. So the thing with that whole issue is he's
like
they've claimed to be. There's my working theory is that perhaps they claimed to be 18 and they ended up not being, but there is a reasonable chance that Wander Franco will not be ever playing baseball again, which is not great for the game, but also if he truly is a piece of shit, then
it's for the best.
Yeah, it is for the best.
And it's
you said it again.
Like, her mother might have been in on it. So
yeah, I don't know. It's an ongoing investigation, and assume we know nothing about it. This is all speculation on our part.
All speculation, and if it comes out that he's innocent, then we will apologize for calling him a piece of shit. It comes out that
he is a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
So he probably is kind of a piece of shit anyway.
Yeah.
Just saying. Most professional athletes are a little.
They have ego.
They have egos. I mean, there's very few that don't have, But he's a young kid from the Dominican who is making millions of dollars playing a kids game. Like he's going to have something of an ego. He's going to buy a fancy ass car, or he probably did. And he's just most professional athletes aren't great people. Just assume that. But yeah, I don't know.
Before we kind of sign off here, I do want to take us back to the World Baseball Classic just for a brief moment. Because, as you said, Matt, this has been an insane baseball season. We're not even in September, and we have had arguably some of the greatest stories. I know MVP race. Cunha could be the first 30-60 guy in MLB history. 30 home runs, 60 stolen bases. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. They're playing lights out. You have Matt Olson. He is, 43 home runs?
Yeah, he's currently leading the league in home runs.
There's
a reasonable chance he ends with over 60. I mean, it's very unlikely, but
the chance is there.
So the chance is there. He just has to have a torrid September, basically, where he hits nearly 20 home runs, which isn't impossible, but
yeah. And then behind those 4, you can make a case for Bellinger to get some MVP votes just because of his season already. And he was not a Piker signing. people viewed him as, well, overrated. He peaked too soon, and he was just going to keep falling. And what he's been doing this year, whew, like, he is going to get a bag next off season.
Someone's gonna pick him up and pay him a
Yeah.
decent amount of money.
Yeah. Then, of course, AL, Shohei Ohtani. If he cannot pitch again this year, his pitching stats alone could qualify to earn MVP. And that's not me saying it as a Ohtani fanboy. I'm just saying it as somebody who understands, like, he put the team on his back every time he took them out. When he was at bat, he made pitchers want to walk him when bases were loaded, much like they did Bonds back in the day. Like, we have had two of the greatest MVP races the last 2 years. And last year, it was Judge versus Ohtani. This year, NL arguing through them. And the last inning, the last batter, and the last pitcher of the World Baseball Classic that was held this spring, Mike fucking Trout and Shohei Ohtani. USA versus Japan in the championship game. If you saw that game,
baseball moment in history. Just because, based on the gravity of the situation and the,
and
the
for those
players
who didn't,
involved. Cut out again. Technical difficulties we appear to be having on Adam's end, or mine.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we had the two greatest baseball players facing one another. And I can still remember everything about that at Trout takes ball one. He swings and misses for strike one. Another ball taken. A pitch right down the fucking middle from Ohtani is taken for strike two. I believe he fouled the next pitch off. Fifth pitch was outside. And then the sixth pitch. Now, again, full count. 2 outs. Two of the greatest baseball players ever. And there's only one run from it being... If Trout hits the home run, the game's tied. If not, Ohtani clinches the WBC for Japan. And he threw his best pitch. And Trout swung as hard as I've seen him swing in a while. Though I don't get to watch a lot of his games, so that doesn't say much. And Trout misses it. Barely. Like, you don't get a moment like that every year. You don't get it every decade.
No, and the fact that these two are on the same team made it even more insane because
Yeah.
if they're on different teams, they're doing this once maybe twice a year, a couple times a year if they're in the same division. But
But they're on the same team.
They're on the same team, so no one has ever seen these two face off against each other, and that was what made the situation insane.
Yeah. And
Cut out again. I
Can you hear
I
me,
didn't hear
Matt?
any of that. Yeah,
Okay.
I can.
But one of the
Like every like
announcers.
2 minutes or something, you just totally cut out.
Oh, that's not fun. But I just remember. I remember one of the announcers came out and said that when it came to Trout and Otani, baseball wins.
Yeah.
He told the truth.
I'll
So
tell you
yeah,
what, with as crazy as this year has been, one thing that, like, with all the rule changes and all the insanity, tell you one thing, baseball has won. The fans have won.
yeah. Like its
Like
pace of play has been
yeah.
faster.
Everyone right now, even the fans in Oakland, who have come out in drives, with boatloads,
Groves.
droves. Yeah, that's a weird word.
It really is.
They've flooded the stadium. They've organized reverse boycotts and all that just to try to keep the team in
In
Oakland and
Oakland.
to give a fuck you to the owners so they don't sell off
They'd
or don't
say.
move their favorite team. And it's insane to me that like all of baseball is winning right now because of the state that the game is in. And
Yeah.
it all stems back to the World Baseball Classic and how much closer it brought everybody, and how much closer it brought, like, when the world can focus on one thing, and that thing has nothing to do with any sort of
Or
politics or
politics. Anything.
wars or whatever, just one central thing where people can gather in and watch and enjoy and have a great time.
Like,
Everyone wins.
yeah.
And,
And
and the fans win, and that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, is the fans. People, baseball isn't a sport made for.
it's not made for everyone.
It's made for the fans.
Yeah.
It's made for the fans. It's made for people that want to have a good time on a Sunday afternoon at the ballpark, or they're hanging with their family and in their living room, and they're sitting there having a beer, watching the game, or even they're hanging out by themselves, talking with their friends online. They got the game on in the background. That's what it's made for. The passionate people that love the game.
I mean, how?
And that
It's
root
made
and cheer for it.
It's made for the parent and kids who maybe they don't talk every day or every month. It's just every once in a while, just check on them. And they can sit and chit chat about the game. Talk about how everything's going on. Everything, not politics, not the wars, just
Whatever
a sporting
whatever
event.
bad thing is going on, just a nice, peaceful sporting event that everyone can enjoy and everyone loves. And
I will go far as to say that this season, it reminds me a lot of the '01 season. And I mean that in the best fucking way, too. Because everybody knows what happened that year. But the more I think about it, the more I realize we were treated to something special that entire year. I mean, remember, Diamondbacks beat the fucking Yankees that year on a walk-off in Game 7. Like, and that's been the one moment that I think fits the Otani versus Trout battle perfectly. Like, don't get it every decade, but when you do, you generally look back on that season And you start to realize it was better than you could have ever imagined.
That's the state that the game is in, and it's a great spot. It's a great atmosphere. Everything feels good about baseball right now, and that's what it'll continue to grow, and it'll keep growing for the next several years. People are realizing what they loved about baseball again because of these rule changes. The game's faster, the game's more fun, it's more fluid. People are having more fun with the game than ever before. And ultimately that's what it's about, is just going out, having fun, and enjoying yourself, whether it's at the game or watching it on TV.
Yeah. And knowing that if you go to a game, it's not going to be like 3-4 plus hours. It'll be 2.5,
2.5
maybe
to 3
3
hours. 3
and
if
you
you're
know
lucky. See, I'm a purist. I like long games of baseball, but that's just
I don't mind them, but it's one of those where it's like, you can go to a game that starts at 1:20 or 3:20, 3:15, whatever. I know you can look at the person you go with. If you go with somebody else, say, "Hey, let's get dinner afterwards. Let's stop to eat before we get to the stadium." Something that just makes the day a lot better.
Yeah, it's when the game is going good. When the game is at its peak, everyone wins, and it just makes me happy that the game is in such a good place. On that note, we've been going for nearly an hour.
Yeah.
That almost
Man has to get ready for work.
Eventually, I still got half an hour before I have to really get ready. So, on that note, thank you everyone for listening, watching if you did. If not, whatever. Just nice hanging out again and talking about baseball. So if you did like it, please drop a like. I guess I don't know.
Leave a like,
because we do this regularly.
We try to, at least.
Sort of. I don't know. There might be more coming for football. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe we'll do some football stuff on something.
Yeah.
Maybe
one day we'll use the Twitch channel.
The free agents, the off season's coming up for baseball, so you'll get a lot of content out of that. That's my favorite time, or one of my favorite times of the year. So because I can record holy shit episodes of holy shit and freak out about everything. So again, thank you all for listening and watching, and we'll catch you on the side.
Have a good day.